For context, just in case y'all don't know, what is a Copo Americano? Well, I'll show you guys a photo in just a moment, but the Copo Americano is the glass of Brazil. It is the drinking cup of Brazil, and it is an icon of Brazilian culture and history. I think it was first brought around in the 1940s. And the reason why it's called the Copo Americano is apparently because the machinery used to make the glasses was brought over from the United States. And then they started production of those glasses in Brazil, where they very quickly became an icon of Brazilian restaurants, Brazilian cafes, and anything really can be drank out of them, from cachaça, from other liquors, to coffee, to milk, to chocolate milk, to tea. Everything is drank out of the Copo Americano, and it's just a very interesting cultural icon that I didn't even know existed until just a couple days ago when I posted my first video on Brazilian liquor over on Jacob Jones Money. I got a couple comments on that video that were letting me know that I was drinking the cachaça that I had during that video out of the exact right glass, and that glass was called the Copo Americano. And I was like, wait, I've got to do some research, because I bought the glass that I featured in that video at a big box store in Brazil because it was $2 USD, and I wanted a small glass to drink some liquor out of for my liquor reviews I was doing in Brazil. And I didn't know the significance of the Copo Americano when I purchased it. I just liked the look of the glass, I liked the price, and I ended up purchasing it for those two reasons. But then looking into it, there's a whole Wikipedia page. It's really cool. Okay, let me go ahead and open up the Copo Americano Wikipedia page, because it is really cool. Copo Americano. Let's go and open it up. So this is the Copo Americano right here. And there is a whole Wikipedia page about it. Yes, it was first brought around in 1947 by the, and I may say this wrong, Nadir Figueiredo Company? I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that pronunciation, but that's the company that introduced the Copo Americano into Brazil. Copo Americano, of course, is a Portuguese phrase. In English, it means American glass or American cup. And it is generally considered to be the most common item of glassware in Brazil, with over 6 million units having been produced since its creation. 6 billion, billion with a B. That's huge. That is insane. 6 billion, that's like only 3 billion under how many people are alive in the entire world. There's almost a singular Copo Americano for everyone that lives in the entire world, which is pretty crazy. And it's used in casual restaurants and bars in the country. You can drink beer out of it as well. That's another very common usage of the Copo Americano. Here's a photo of one. This is what it looks like with a little bit of a logo on the side right here. And then we see the other Copo Americanos, one close up and one over here as well. And this is very much what my personal Copo Americano that I purchased while in Brazil looks like. And one of the really interesting things I found about the Copo Americano as well, one, the history, which we'll be covering in just a moment, but two, I thought it was really interesting how it's also considered a standard unit of measurement in Brazilian recipes, as well, as we can see right here, which is really cool in my personal opinion. I think it's really interesting. And let's go ahead and open up the Portuguese Wikipedia, because that Wikipedia page actually has a lot more context about the Copo Americano than the American Wikipedia does. There we go. Copo Americano. Here we go. But yes, here's the Portuguese Wikipedia page about the Copo Americano. We can see that the history of it, of course, first introduced in 1947, as said, initially manufactured in Sao Paulo, and the design is generally attributed to, and here's something that's really interesting, the design of the glass is generally attributed to a Soviet glass, a Soviet faceted glass, which is this glass right here. So this glass is generally attributed as being the inspiration for the design of the Copo Americano. Now, according to Wikipedia, there's no documents or anything like that to prove that it actually was based on that design and that the sculptor Vera Mukina, this lady right here, very notable individual. Let me, yes, she did this. This is a super iconic Soviet piece of sculpture. I'm sure a lot of y'all recognize this statue right here. Very, very, very iconic, very notable artist from the Soviet Union. So she was working in a glass factory, I think at the time, later on in her life, and I believe she had a part to play in the design of this glass right here, if I remember correctly, and she is generally attributed as being one of the inspirations for the Copo Americano, which is what we're discussing right now, but there's no proof to actually say that that was actually the case. And there's also some controversy, apparently, within Brazil over the name Copo Americano to begin with as well. Apparently, there is an area of Brazil that doesn't call the Copo Americano the Copo Americano. It instead calls the Copo Americano the Copo Lagoana? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but this is an area of Brazil where the cup is especially iconic, and so it's called this name rather than the Copo Americano in that area. And so there's actually been movements to change the name from Copo Americano to the Lagoana, or Copo Lagoana, which I find very, very, very interesting as well. And one of the other amusing things is that apparently the Copo Americano is actually used as a measuring cup for laundry detergent. Now, I don't know if this is actually true or not, but I'm just imagining you buy a bottle of laundry detergent at the store, and then on the back of the bottle, it just says, just fill up an entire Copo Americano and just put it in the washing machine kind of thing. That's what I'm imagining they mean by measuring cup for laundry detergent. I don't know if that's actually the case, but if that is actually the case, that is actually super cool, because that means that the Copo Americano is just that standard within Brazil, where it has become ubiquitous for everything, which is really, really, really cool to me. Now, one of the things I was trying to think about after I learned about the Copo Americano is, what would the Copo Americano of the United States be? And this line of thought was kind of brought in by this section of the Wikipedia page, because in 2009, the Modern Museum of Art in New York City had a showcase of Brazil and Brazil's history and different pieces of art from Brazil, and they exhibited the Copo Americano as being a significant piece of Brazilian design, which I find really interesting. And I was like, wow, the MoMA Art Museum showcased the Copo Americano. That's just crazy kind of thing. And so this really kind of tried to make me think. I really started thinking after learning about this, what would the American Cup of the United States actually be? And I actually gave a lot of thought to this. I was trying to think what the most iconic United States of America glassware would be. I have two answers at hand, though. Answer number one, and this isn't really glassware, but it's very iconic drinkware. Of course, Red Solo Cup. I think the Red Solo Cup has a pretty decent argument for being the iconic United States Copo Americano version. Another glass that I think has a really good argument are the red Pizza Hut cups, or like the pizza, like the red cups and stuff like that, like these. I think this has another very fair argument for being one of the most iconic pieces of United States drinkware ever. But neither of these are ubiquitous enough where it's used in cooking recipes, where it's used as a standard unit of measurement, where it's used for laundry detergent as a standard unit of measurement for laundry detergent kind of thing. None of these are that iconic. So what do you guys think? What is the Copo Americano? What is the most iconic piece of glassware from the United States? And if you guys aren't from the United States, I want to know what the Copo Americano of your country is. You're saying, welcome, Ramiel? You're saying in France. Okay, if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying the Duralex cup would be the Copo Americano of France. And I did do a little bit of research on what the most iconic glassware of countries around the world would be. I didn't really find a lot of information, but France did pop up with the Duralex cup. Let's go ahead. And so this is what the Copo Americano of France would be from what I've heard. Everything I've heard leads me to believe that this is France's most iconic piece of glassware. And we can definitely see some similarities and differences between the Copo Americano in Brazil versus the Duralex cup. There's some facets on the side, there's some edges on the side. The top of it, though, is smooth for your lips, but this one, it bows out just a little bit kind of thing. There's a little bit of bowing, and it's a little bit more differently shaped. This is a little bit more straight up and down kind of thing. This one has some curves to it, so it's got a different, unique design in my personal opinion. Yeah, no, I would have to say for France, everything I've heard leads me to believe that this is the iconic glassware of France. Zico dos Italianos, you're saying, in Portugal, I can't even answer that. I think it's just a generic one. Understandable. And I feel like that really is the answer for a lot of countries around the world, I will acknowledge. Jesus, you're saying, fast food, clear plastic cups for Puerto Rico, at least in your house? Makes sense, makes sense. I'm thinking like, oh man, what's the name? Carlisle cup. Here we go. Yeah, something like this kind of thing. Carlisle Food Service. Something like that, maybe? I'm not exactly sure. I do own one of these cups. I bought it. In fact, I actually own two of these cups. I own one that's about the same size as the Copo Americano and another one that is a little bit bigger kind of thing, I will acknowledge. So I'm thinking maybe this is what you meant. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe you meant disposable cups. But this is definitely a top contender for a lot of places as well, because this is just such an iconic glass, I will admit. IRL Veracirc. You're saying it depends, but I'd say the Pacific Northwest has mason jars as the most ubiquitous. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think mason jars are a really good argument for being the, like, one of the most iconic pieces of American drinkware kind of thing. I mean, like, there's a reason why literal American-themed restaurants in Japan and other countries have all of their patrons drink out of mason jars. And do I have literally a mason jar that originally had stuff in it, and now I've been drinking out of it for the last couple years in my cupboard? Yes, I literally do. I drink out of a mason jar like literally more than once a week, genuinely. I would definitely have to say a mason jar is another really good choice for a super ubiquitous American piece of glassware. Like, not designed to be a glass to drink out of, but specifically like this size, well, no, not this size. I would say like this, or I would say, like, this one literally has a handle kind of thing. This one literally has a handle. It's literally meant to be drank out of. Yeah, I would say, like, the smaller glasses like this kind of thing, along with, like, this one and this one as well. These are definitely, like, iconic pieces of, like, American drinkware to some degree, in my personal opinion, even if you're not really meant to drink out of them, or at least weren't meant to drink out of them from the get-go. And I think these actually have a really, holy crap, I personally think the mason jar quite possibly has the strongest argument for being the United States contender to the Copo Americano, because mason jars are literally a standard unit of measurement in of themselves. There are recipes where if you're like canning fruit and stuff, they're like, get yourself a 16 fluid ounce mason jar and put this much fruit in, put this much sugar in, and can it up and leave it there kind of thing. There's literally recipes for that kind of thing. There's multiple uses for mason jars. You can use it as like a painting cup. You can use it to store tobacco. I use mason jars to store tobacco. I have shit tons of tobacco in mason jars. You can use them to drink out of. They're iconic in the way that there's actually some, like, restaurants in the United States, of course, that are like, we're going to serve all of our customers with mason jars kind of thing because we want to look like we are American kind of thing. And there's American restaurants outside of America which serve all of their customers' drinks in mason jars. I think mason jars actually have one of the strongest arguments for being the United States Copo Americano. I don't think it's fair to say that it's the only contender, because it's definitely not, but they definitely do have a very strong argument for them. Very, very, very good point there. That's a super good point. And as you said, welcome Ramiel as well. You're saying that mason jars have so many cheap copies, definitely a good indicator of popularity. Absolutely. Absolutely. Granted, the same exact thing can also be said about red Solo cups. and about the Pizza Hut cups / Carlisle cups as well. There's a lot of companies that make this style of cup right here, but mason jars are the exact thing, are the exact same. There are just so many of them, and there's so many different versions from different companies. Another comment that is being mentioned by Mary Kamikaze is saying that the mason jars remind them of moonshine. And I think this is another actually, the more I think about it, the more I think that the American glass of the United States is the mason jar. Because yeah, it's so ubiquitous and has been for so long. I mean, like bootlegging, super American, NASCAR, super American kind of thing. And what does NASCAR have its roots in? Bootlegging, baby. One of the most American things of all time. You drink out of it, you find it in restaurants. It has its roots in like being a pantry staple, has its roots in literal bootlegging, which was the start of NASCAR, one of the most American things of all time. No, the more I think about it, the more I think that the mason jar, while it might not be the drinkware that really pops into your mind at first as being the most iconic piece of American glassware, I think there is a much stronger argument than not for mason jars being the iconic American glass of the United States. I mean, like, yeah, red Solo cups and red Pizza Hut cups are super iconic, but realistically speaking, this has only been a thing since the 1980s kind of thing. Realistically speaking, red Solo cups, when did these really become a thing? 80s or 90s? At the earliest kind of thing? I mean, like, mason jars, they've been around for over 100 years probably. I mean, like, let's look at the Wikipedia page. There's got to be a Wikipedia page for mason jars, right? When did these first come around? 1858. 1858. Holy crap. No, yeah, no, this has got to be the number one, honestly. I really, and there's even a holiday. There's National Mason Jar Day. There's National Mason Jar Day. I mean, like, yeah, no, I think there really is. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say the United States most iconic piece of glassware ever, whether it be for drinking, whether it be for many different uses, I think it's gotta be the mason jar, without a doubt. The United States version of the Copo Americano is the mason jar. That's got to be the number one choice. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts at all. It is the mason jar. Number two, I would say, is probably the red Solo cup. Number two is probably the red Solo cup. It's so ubiquitous. And number three is probably the red Pizza Hut cup, in my personal opinion. But yeah, number one most iconic piece of glassware in the United States. I think you guys are right. I didn't even consider the mason jar at first, but y'all are completely right. Mason jar, number one. Number two, red Solo cup. Number three is the iconic Carlisle-made Pizza Hut cup. Yeah, that is really, really, really interesting. Really, really, really cool. Okay, wow, that's really neat. I would have never come to this conclusion if it wasn't thanks to what you guys said. So thank you very much to all of y'all for giving me some input in this line of thinking. I really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. Very cool.